Arthur Kwame Wharton. Yes, you probably would have heard this name on countless occasions, especially during Black History Month. Well, this is the story of how Ghana's Arthur Wharton became the world's first professional African footballer. His life and achievements have inspired many African football players over the years. He is probably the inspiration behind the success of players such as Pele, George Weah, Abedi Pele, Roger Miller, J.J. Okocha, Didier Drogba, Asamoah Gyan, and Kylian Mbappe. The Gold Coast-born British footballer is widely recognized as the first black person to play the game at the professional level. Though mostly used as a goalkeeper, Wharton occasionally operated as a winger. This is a feat that not many goalkeepers in modern era can do and are allowed to do. Despite making a name for himself as a footballer, Wharton was admired for his numerous talents. He also performed brilliantly in other sports such as cricket, rugby, running, and cycling. As an FA Cup participant, the renowned goalkeeper was a sporting pioneer whose place in the history books cannot be ignored. I take a look at the extraordinary life of this soccer legend and what his achievement means to other black players in the sport. Kwame Wharton was born on 28 October 1865 and raised in Jamestown in the British West African colony of Gold Coast, modern-day Ghana. He was born to Annie Florence Edriba, a royal of the Fanti tribe in Ghana, and Henry Wharton, a missionary from Grenada. Both parents would have had Scottish roots. Wharton spent his early youth in Ghana, attending Infante Pym School, a renowned all-boys senior high school in Cape Coast. Established by the Methodist Church in 1876, the school can boast of many distinguished alumni, including former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. Arthur was one of 10 children to his parents. In 1883, Arthur Kwame Wharton was flown to England to start his missionary training at Darlington's Cleveland College. However, plans changed when he got to England. His focus and attention shifted from missionary to being a sportsman. He participated in a number of amateur competitions and equaled the world record as the fastest man in the 100 meters heat at Stamford Bridge on 3rd July 1886. The record would go on to stand on for 3 decades. Soon after establishing himself as one of the fastest athletes at amateur level, Wharton tested himself in other sporting events. As a cricketer, he starred for many teams including Lancashire and Yorkshire. He was also a fan of cycling and won many popular competitions. His graceful love for sports leads us into his next adventure, which is football. Like many footballers, Wharton developed a love for the sport at an early age, but decided to go into the sport in 1885 when he was around 20 years old. He initially joined Darlington Football Club as one of their amateur goalkeepers while recording many splendid performances. Faced with limited game time, Wharton began to question his footballing abilities. This would see him take a break from football and go back to athletics. His unwillingness to fight for his place in the team was perhaps one of his weaknesses as a multi-talented sportsman. Despite facing almost unsurmountable challenges and racial barriers, he came back to the game in 1888 when he featured for Sheffield Wednesday in a friendly game against his former team, Preston North End. His side lost 8-1 and Wharton received lots of bashing from the media and some fans who described his performance as horror. This was a man who played football as daringly as anyone before him or after. Opinion towards immigrants in the Victorian era was unkind, to say the very least. The mountain that Wharton had to walk up to prove his worth as a sportsman was steeper than many, if not all, of his peers. The following year saw him etch his name in history by signing his first professional contract with Rotherham Town. The Jamestown-born goalkeeper became the first black football player to star at the professional level. Though Scotland's Andrew Watson and Robert Walker had already played the game, none of them got to the professional stage before Wharton. He made over a dozen appearances during his 5-year spell at Rotherham. His performances earned him a deal with Sheffield United in 1894. He was signed as a backup to the famous William Fogg. It was during this time at Bramall Lane that he became the first player with mixed heritage to feature in England's top-flight league. A year later, he returned to Rotherham before joining Stalybridge Rovers for the 1896-1897 season. After some misunderstanding with the team's management, Wharton left to join Aston North End in 1897. Arthur signed a contract to represent Preston North End in the FA Cup. Unbeaten in all the previous season, Preston North End were the Invincibles, and the FA Cup was the only national football competition. Arthur ended his playing career in 1902 as a player for Stockport County. Though he wasn't the greatest goalkeeper of his era, Wharton was special in his own right. Just imagine having a goalkeeper with good reflexes and superhuman speed. Those were some qualities of the former Stockport County shortstopper. Before Colombia's Rene Higuita's famous scorpion kick, there was Wharton's monkey save. For this style, the British Ghanaian goalkeeper would grab the ball between his thighs while holding onto the crossbar. This style is so difficult that modern-day goalkeepers would never dream of repeating. With the level of entertainment that he brought to the game, Wharton was admired by many football lovers in the United Kingdom. His work on and off the pitch inspired future generations of football players, especially Black Britons, to come. After hanging up his boots, Wharton worked as a hauler in a local mine. He also demonstrated his love for his country by becoming a member of the Volunteer Training Corps. Through the service, he fought in the First World War. In his latter days, he battled syphilis and other petty illnesses that made him give up the ghost on 13 December 1930, aged 65. The former Sheffield United shortstopper was buried in an unmarked grave in South Yorkshire. It was not until 1997 that his grave received a headstone. The initiative was championed by anti-racism group Football Unites, Racism Divides. Despite being a trailblazer in the sport, Wharton didn't receive the recognition he deserved. It was not until 2003 that the legendary goalkeeper was named in the English Football Hall of Fame. In 2012, a mini statue of the former goalkeeper was given to Sepp Blatter, then president of the world's governing football body, FIFA. In 2013, he was honored at the England Athletics Hall of Fame Awards. Perhaps the most memorable edifice in honor of his remarkable contributions to professional sports is the 16-foot bronze statue at the FA's National Football Centre in Barton. Inspired by the tireless effort of Sean Campbell of the Arthur Wharton Foundation, the statue was unveiled in 2014. In 2011, the English FA invited his granddaughter, Sheila Leeson, as a guest of honor for England's friendly against Ghana. The FA had plenty to thank Leeson for. Wharton's story was kept alive by her family photos. Sheila helped to uncover one of the great stories of sporting history, and now it's immortalized in British football and folklore. In October 2012, Sheila traveled with the Arthur Wharton Foundation to Ghana, where two teams competed for the Arthur Wharton Memorial Cup. The group met Wharton's Ghanaian descendants and went to his former school in Fansipim. In order to make his achievement known to later generations, Sean Campbell, a popular businessman, established the Arthur Wharton Foundation in 2010. Aside promoting the works of the former goalkeeper, the foundation is also focused on fighting racism and promoting cultural diversity. Many black sportsmen and women have looked up to Wharton. In an interview, Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt stated, "Without Arthur, there would be no Usain Bolt." According to Campbell, other famous soccer players such as England's Marcus Rashford and Les Ferdinand have all been touched by the works of Wharton. With his remarkable achievement and the amount of impact he has had on other celebrated soccer players, we can boldly say that Arthur Wharton was indeed an incredible human being who has rightfully earned his place in the history books.